We are talking about the word Zeitgeist, or Zeitgeist as it is pronounced in English, which spells Z-E-I-T-G-E-I-S-T, and is compounded of two German nouns, Zeit, time, and Geist, the spirit. So it means the spirit of the age, generally speaking, or more specifically the tendency, the particular tendency that we see, or drive that we see in our own time, that seems to epitomize our own age. More specifically, the particular trend that we perceive in our own time, something that stands out as typical in our time, something that is the craze, as it were, at the moment, which could be, for instance, in the current age, could be the use of the internet for communication, social web networking sites, that sort of thing would be certainly part of the zeitgeist of the current period. All words tend to have their particular history, and this one originated around 1800, very precisely in the early 1800s, reflecting their particular zeitgeist, as it were, namely the sense after the French Revolution of a period of critical time, of accelerated history, of challenges and crises, and that generated this entire idea that there could be something specific about our age, something critical, which needed to be named. And that is precisely the Zeitgeist. So if we take an example, there is a book, a famous and influential book, by a German critic of the time, Ernst Moritz Arndt, which is called Der Geist der Zeit, the spirit of the age, the Zeitgeist, if you contract it into one noun. And this book includes, for instance, one of the sentences which reflect the sense of acceleration and crisis. He says, "Those of us who have lived for the past 20 years have lived for centuries." Right, so since the French Revolution, making a huge upheaval in Europe, not just in France, the sense was there of critical time, of accelerated time, of a period of transition, which had its particular spirit, its Zeitgeist. The Zeitgeist is still part of the German language and very much used in journalism, in cultural criticism as well, and more broadly speaking. And it still has this idea that we try to find what defines our time, what defines the 1980s. The Golf-Generation, the Volkswagen Golf generation, as we say, for the next generation of youngsters after the punk generation of 1979, say. Or the zeitgeist of the 1990s, or the zeitgeist of the 2000s. That would be still a question in the feuilletons and the cultural sections of the newspapers and journals. But I would think that the use of the word, although frequent, has sort of lost some of its weight compared to the 19th century, where it was at the core of defining yourself, defining your own culture and society, defining your own age. Today, we talk about zeitgeist, it tends to be individual phenomena which seem to epitomize the zeitgeist. As we said earlier, the internet is one of those. And yes, that's maybe a change. That it becomes more culturally critical rather than trying to reflect our own understanding in a more serious sense of our own age. Well, as a literary historian, I'm interested, of course, how such a word and its origin reflects literary history or how literature interacts with the generation of such a word. And this is a key phenomenon, actually, of the early 1800s, namely that literature is at the forefront of expressing this new spirit of accelerated change and crisis. And we have, for instance, a new type of novel developing in the 1790s, early 1800s, the Zeitroman, the novel of the age, which looks at its own time as history in the making, tries to find the meaning of their own period, of the writer's own period, by using a range of stories and characters to encapsulate the zeitgeist of the period. So a completely new genre is generated by this sense of zeitgeist around 1800.